Have you ever heard of a town called Consequence? Well, no, of course you haven't. It's a fictional town. A fictional town just downriver from Cincinnati, Ohio, that has recently come across a rather large vein of silver. Yes, silver. Modern day silver rush. And it's not just the kind who are interested. Kindred have come from far and wide, all of them piling into this tiny 70,000 population town. Tiny, tiny place. Which means it's going to get rather hectic. There's going to be too many fish in a very small fish bowl. And two such fish are currently waiting in a ferry just out of Cincinnati. They've recently flown or drove in. I'm sure that they're going to give us a little bit more of their own input on why they are here. We have a rather strange coupling at the moment. One of them is a nun, and the other one is a businessman, a builder, a people builder as well as a building builder. They're currently sitting in the hold of this ship, a small thing, only carrying maybe 13 passengers or so, plus the driver himself, a rather quirky chap, very, completely bald, kind of skinny, not very healthy, but he seems to be good enough for his job. He's taking the ship downriver, avoiding all of the rocks and various other debris that populate the Ohio River. It's a long place, after all, downwind from a huge city. And as we now zoom in, down into the hold of this tiny vessel, rather cramped quarters. Luckily, these two have managed to sort of stow away in their own little room. Maybe for the best. Who are they, though? And why are they all in black and white? Should we start off with Eric?
The first of these traveling compatriots is Sister Sarah. She's, well, very fun-loving, very enjoyable individual to be around. If it wasn't for the friendly demeanor that she constantly portrays, one might never suspect her of being a predator of the night, but that's okay. Her traveling companion, she's known him for a couple of years now, some very strange, complicated, and assorted history between the two, but they're very much aware of one another. She is, however, going downriver to Consequence to end up taking a look out. The Kindred of New York even ended up hearing about this particular silver rush, and, well, there are parties that are particularly interested to see what's the flow of the town. They kind of scout about, and so herself, being charming, was sent down there, be it case by lineage, this horrific Tzimisce history, living amongst the Camarilla, that requires great leverage, leniency, but in order to end up maintaining that, sometimes you gotta get your hands dirty. In this case, Sister Sarah is sent out to end up doing so. But this isn't just her that's traveling about. It's also her companion, Ventrue.
Yeah, Ventrue, nice guy in a suit, or rather, not one for such a tight, overly bearing clothes. No, something simple, something that I can move around in. That's more my style. It's more my flair. Billy Schultz of, may have heard of him up in New York, Schultz Construction. Not too small, but good enough place. His sire's been wanting him to move down to Consequence once it's been heard through the grapevine about the silver. Try to get that foothold for Blue Bloods. And, well, with Sister Sarah by his side, well, can't help but appreciate really the unusual turn of events, how the two get brought together through sire interaction. Putting one's neck out for a particular group that others would simply just cut the heads off of leaves a bad taste in some people's mouths, particularly people up in New York that kind of got that, we don't forget sort of mentality. Regardless of that, Billy just kind of looks over at Sister Sarah, just kind of gives her a friendly smile. It's nice that she's here. It's always welcoming to see her. Maybe it's just the fact that they've both been put in a precarious situation, but they got to make the most of it. That's all people got to do, right?
The precarious situation in the moment only consists of a very old, not to say rotted, but clearly, worn-in shell of a boat that is, drifting down the Ohio River towards the town of Consequence. It's a short journey. In all reality, you are downriver after all, going full pelt, carefully, but full pelt. As I said, the pilot of the boat is a little eccentric, and after some time, not too long, a couple hours perhaps, idle chatter going on in throughout the rest of the boat. The only people which you saw come on here looked to be rough types. Most of them bearded, most of them male, most of them dishevelled, shabby clothes. A lot of them carrying these large sacks. You can only guess what their intentions are. Some of them carrying pans as well. If you are familiar with pan fishing, you have the idea. The river does branch off after all. Consequences built near a small set of hills, where supposedly the silver flows from, both underground and downstream into the main river. After these hours have passed in this rather claustrophobic place, the only breathing that can really be heard is the breathing of the boat as well as the breathing of the people. It creaks and groans as the water shifts outside. Until finally, there's a rather loud wooden clanking sound, followed by the rattling of chains and shouting of men's voices. You've docked. Finally, you're here in Consequence after this hellish, groaning journey. And upon making your way up onto the deck, you can see the place for what it is. Very, very new. It's spectacularly new, in fact. The town city, those of you who will have looked into it, can't be more than 25 years old, although everything here seems gleaming and modern. Just ahead of you, it's a sort of small, I suppose you could call it a booth, like an office. So kind of like the sort of thing you'd see in when you're trying to cross states, that sort of thing. There's a little gate there, and strangely enough, armed guards. Why they're armed guards in Consequence? Well, I suppose we'll find out. Not heavily armed, pistols on either side and body armour. Clearly, though, they must be expecting more trouble than maybe there's worth. It's almost as though it's a security checkpoint rather than just a commercial docking area. Beyond that, you can see what appears to be a large warehouse. Again, all of it modern, none of it wood, all of it sort of shining concrete, in some cases metal. Directly across the river, it's a sort of small segment of the river. It only stretches out for maybe 200, 300 feet, very sort of tight, narrow choke point in this area. And you can see the rest of the city. There's hotels gleaming, going across the side, sort of tracing along the edge of the place. Beyond, the lights, right in the very, very high up on those hills I previously mentioned. Lights gleaming out of caves. The faint glow, almost like a caveman's campfire. As well as, brighter, more stark blue neon lights. Again, coming up from the hills. There's clearly some large operation going on there. Once you made your way off of the boat, I presume you do anyway, unless you want to stick around.
No, I think we'll end up taking our time to end up heading down. After all, best to end up getting yourself acquainted with the locals.
Particularly if I can stay in it for a while.
As you make your way off, along with the other passengers, again, very, very rough types. A lot of them don't really speak to you. They cast shifty glances to each other. Only a few. They're in sort of small groups, clusters, twos, threes, making their way along. Partnerships, maybe forged out of friendship, maybe forged out of necessity for survival. We continue on this rather shabbily dressed queue. The guards don't say anything. There are only two of them either side of this chain link fence, provided a gate which is open for you to pass on through into what appears to be like a shipping area, like a large car park outside of this gleaming warehouse. They seem to ignore everybody else. There's no sign of a metal detector. There's no sign of any form of security. They're just sort of passively watching. That is until which of you is in front, would you say?
Billy will be in front. Wouldn't exactly want the kind of unscrupulous lot to try to push on a lady, right?
As soon as he crosses the threshold of the chain link fence out into the main courtyard area, one of these aforementioned guards, probably it's kind of on the short side actually, very, very short hair, looks to be a military man anyway, sort of steps out, just not exactly blocking you, just sort of half blocking you, his shoulders in your way, looks up at you for a moment. What's your business here, sir?
Billy just kind of smiles at him. He's like, "Hello there. It's Billy Schultz. I'm here for business."
He gives a very odd glance behind you, just towards Sister Sarah, clearly quite surprised that your travelling companion is a woman of faith. Just check something, holds up to, again, these guys do seem to be, although not heavily armed, they're very, very well equipped. Holds a hand up to his ear. Would you come with me, please, both of you?
Of course.
Sounds fine to me.
He turns on his heels rather sharply and begins to lead you into this, this sort of this kind of boxy room. There can't be more than an office and maybe like a little booth sort of thing. Like I said, a security checkpoint. He leads you into there, down some stairs, underground, that is, by now. Even this seems to be gleaming. I keep using the word gleaming, I need to expand my vocabulary. Stark yellow lights just above, leading you down. You get the impression this is something of a bunker. Maybe not as well fortified, but close, claustrophobic. Just as soon as you get out of the boat here, you're forced into another tight situation. Leads you down to the bottom, opens the door, this time plain wood, into a room. It appears to be that of a police interrogation room. Like, not like a horrific interrogation, just a table, 4 chairs around it, 2 on either side. There's no one sitting there at the moment, but he does, with one arm outstretched, just indicating you should enter.
Thank you very much. Please. Thank you very much for Ed leading me and Billy out. I've feeling a little cramped in the boat. Now into another cramped space. It seems the Lord has been testing my claustrophobia.
Nah, it's all right, sister. Don't worry about that too much. At least, if at least you're cramped in a box, you may as well get cramped with a friend, right?
I can assure you that you're not going to be in here long. This is just a precaution. We were told to expect you.
What? If you don't mind me asking. Mr.
That's not important. We'll have somebody along to see you shortly, don't worry.
Well,
can I get you anything?
Be well, and go with God. She walks over naturally, just takes a simple seat.
Billy just stands, kind of puts his hands in his pants pocket. So, yeah, this is going to be a fun time, you think?
Well, if we're being told to be expected, I don't know who would end up calling ahead to end up telling on us. It's going to be fun, I hope. Expect the unexpected, and just roll with it. After all, what fun can happen if it's just steady as she goes?
Yeah, that's correct. You just gotta... Sometimes when the boat gets a rocking, you just gotta rock with it.
Presumably you're staying in the room. The door will have been shut, not forcefully, almost gently. And you hear the footsteps of this man entering back up the stairs. You're not there for long, perhaps 15 minutes at most before the door is open again. Same guy, but he's accompanied by someone. A short, very, very freckled, red-haired woman with her hair tied back in a ponytail. Two sort of locks of hair just trace the side of her head. She's not particularly beautiful, not even particularly effeminate, actually. She's wearing sort of casual civilian clothes, denim jacket, no heels, just trainers. Although you would detect that there is indeed a holster, like sort of a shoulder holster, that's concealing some kind of weapon underneath. Whether it's a gun, whether it's a taser, hard to say. She makes her way in without even regarding the man who opened the door for her, and looks up at Billy, who's still standing. She says, "Please take a seat." And she sits down before you can, on the opposite side of the table to Sarah.
Billy pops in a chair and just kind of sits down, but he's kind of lays back in it a little bit. Not too far, but kind of plays it off a little bit like this.
And she will continue to speak if neither of you make any attempt at greeting. With it's a very flat, nasally, monotone voice. Can I ask who sent you?
What makes you have the impression that we were sent?
Well, because you wouldn't come here all by yourself. Or if you did, then I'd very much like to know why. And she leans in, very much the police interrogator in the situation.
Well, my dear, I go where God takes me, and on this day I'm accompanying my good friend Billy. After all, when have I been restricted as to where the Word of God and the teachings that he ends up presiding, where would that be restricted, really? Or am I led to believe that simply because of the way I dress, suddenly it's highly suspicious?
Well, as a matter of fact, it is.
Is it really? I mean, you can obviously tell, she's a lady of the faith, right? I mean, fairly obvious thing.
Yeah. The real thing that's bothering me is why neither of you showed up on the infrared cameras.
Funny
Maybe
about
it's,
that.
maybe your stuff is malfunctioning. You know how technology is nowadays, particularly, out here. That water, messes with things.
There's no point trying to hide. We were informed that some of you will be coming soon.
You being who?
Myself. Myself and my boys.
No, I mean, you refer to us as some of you. Who are you speaking of?
Like what, out of tens or?
The term that I've been told I'm not comfortable with using, so I'm just going to say it once. You're vampires, aren't you? I know that you're supposed to keep your existence a secret, but that's fine. I'm knowing, and I know people who know more than me. You understand that there's precautions being taken.
Well, of course, precautions are, necessary. There's nothing wrong with that, but more along the lines of, more along the lines of what exactly is it that you're wanting to know, really?
We just want to know whether you're here for business or pleasure. And if it's business, how can we help you? And if it's pleasure, how can we help you be on your way? This town is going to get very, very, very busy in the coming weeks.
Well, exactly. That's why people come here for business. I don't really necessarily see why people would come here for pleasure. I mean, don't get me wrong. Your place looks nice and everything, but there's a lack of aesthetic. This charm is kind of missing.
Well, it was built to function, not to entertain. With the exception of a couple of clubs. I think I've kept you here for long enough. Is there anyone else you know that you're bringing with you or may have followed you? It would just be easier if I bring you all as one group.
Well, there was one, but it depends on his drive. He might not even be here by the end of the week, all things considered. I'm led to believe that cross-country border crossings become complicated.
Yeah, I heard about that. Depending on where he's coming from, though, there's a lot of stoppages nowadays.
Right. She pushes the chair back. It's squeaking on the concrete floor. Why, if none of you have any other belongings you need to collect from the boat, then I'd ask you to come with me.
Very well then. But if you do, if we're going to end up starting with a certain degree of courtesy, I believe the name of the person who informed you of our supposed condition would probably be best to be given, along with your name. We'll give you ours, and keep it as a very nice, relaxed atmosphere. I don't want to end up turning things into being blown out of proportion, after all.
No, of course not. Wouldn't exactly want that very much, though, we miss. Billy kind of winks at her.
Very well, then, if I would take your names first.
Sister Sarah.
Is that
Bill.
first name Sister, second name Sarah?
Most just end up referring to me as Sarah. The last name became of little consequence. Pardon the pun.
She that takes no notice of your pun and turns immediately over towards Billy.
Billy just, he sticks his hand out to her. It's like, Billy Schultz of the construction company from New York. Hopefully you heard.
I'm sorry, I don't shake hands with people I just met.
Obviously, no sense of friendliness here.
Well, there can't be. I'm the deputy. My name's Ellen North. I work for Nine Rings. Have either of you heard of Nine Rings?
Nine Rings. Name kind of rings a bell, but not too particular.
if you do, yeah, I mean, Nine Rings is a company in consequence that you may have heard of. If you want to do like, I don't know, intelligence finance, see whether or not you've heard of this thing before.
Yeah, I'll do that for you. Said intelligence finance.
Yeah, we can call it that.
All right. So I gotta do my 6. Of course not.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yes, you've recently ended up taking place in, well, consequence. So you officially then own this town. If I understand that correctly.
Essentially. And I'm about to take you to meet the CEO.
Oh,
Please.
excellent, excellent. Thank you.
She will
Thank you
stand
very
up
much, Miss
and
Green.
she will stand up and begin to take these two kindred outside. And as she does so, we're going to warp over back to, instead of taking the river route, taking the waterside route, driving along the south side of the Ohio River, is a man who's come a very, very, very long way through many, many, many hardships and is likely going to enter even more. Who is this man as he drives along in the night?
Just to let you know, Jeff, you're still on mute.
Oh, yes. All right. Are we good?
We are fine.
All right. Roll camera in 5. Oh shit, too late. No, it has been quite the trip for Aurelian de la So. Ever since leaving absolute shithole up north, way up north, and he's quite tired from his flight and his drive. As he pulls into town and pulls up in front of a building where there's a bunch of people coming out. What a quinky dink.
Just to, when he goes up, when he actually sort of makes his way into Consequence proper, then you'll understand why there's a fair amount of traffic. There's actually a security checkpoint.
By the way, that intelligence finance that I made was for research I did ahead of time.
I'll just give you a very, very quick rundown, just for the moment. Silver Rush started 5 days ago, and it was initiated by a company named Nine Rings. Sister Sarah, with her success, may have heard some of this as well. It was initiated by a company named Nine Rings that's recently basically taken residence up at the place. It's a jewelry, it's like a sort of raw silver. It does various things, and it's very, very local. Only in Ohio, hasn't actually branched out yet, but so far it's been very, very successful. With 3 successes, you'll also know that the thing's been working itself up into quite a lot of debt. And a lot of people have wondered why it's actually chosen to take interest in Consequence. Now, though, the reasoning has become clear. Anyway, as you are driving, there are huge amounts of traffic, both lanes completely crammed. It probably takes you a little bit longer than you expected to actually get up here. By now, it's maybe running into the sort of 11 o'clock time. But clearly, some people are very, very devoted and trying to bludgeon their way through the cars in order to actually make it. Not literally, of course. When you finally do, pull up next to the checkpoint, and they actually do ask you for some basic details. They don't ask you for anything. They don't ask you for identity. You're not crossing the border. They're just leaning through one of the booths.
Registration.
The basics, name, and also they ask reason of visit, business pleasure.
I am moving into the neighborhood.
Well, that might cause a problem. Would you be able to, when you go in, just park on the inside there? We just want to ask you 1 or 2 things.
Not a problem. He pulls on over.
You are currently in the car park of it's a very, very large, very, very wide car park of a warehouse, a very, very new warehouse you would see on your left. Basically glistening, so it clearly kept in good condition despite the moisture of the winter of Ohio. When you pull up, there's plenty of spare spaces. The only other sort of vehicles in the area are actually sort of these 2 huge lorries, like sort of massive things, easily the size of a bus or 2 taped onto the back, as well as like I said, 4 jet black. They look to be business cars, the sort of thing you would see a secret agent drive, or the antagonist of a secret agent movie. When you pull over, then one of the men from the booth, who you would recognise in the background, armed. Yeah, he's got the whole bulletproof vest thing on, so this dull blue fatigues. He makes his way over to you. Not heavily armed, of course, just a single pistol, but clearly very, very expensively equipped at the very least. Makes his way over and sort of motions for you to step out of the car.
Okay.
Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, I step out of the car after putting certain things away.
As he steps away, a moment while Sister Sarah and Billy are currently making their way up, the woman leading them doesn't really say much. She just looks over to Billy and begins to end up making that idle conversation, saying, Billy, are you absolutely sure this was the wisest idea? I didn't need the company. I appreciate it, but
No,
fun-loving kid like you shouldn't end up being any place other than the city. You think you're ready to end up hawking it out here in what seems to be a wild, wild west rerun?
I was asking myself the same question when Grayson told me to come down here with you. I was wondering that myself, like why exactly he wants me to come here, but he told me something. He said, best way to know how to build something is you look at it from the ground up. You got to look at everything. You got to look at the foundation. You build on the foundation first, and that's how you make it grow.
You end up. I'm sure that'll end up coming in time. You built your home not upon the sand, but at the rock, and I can appreciate a certain degree of that wisdom, but I do have to end up wondering, though, is your foundation perhaps trying to build upon silver ore?
It's kind of rubs his nose. It's possible. I mean, with how things have been going in the arc recently, everybody just seems to be fighting over the scraps nowadays. Maybe they're thinking we get on the ground floor somewhere else, we'll get a better foothold.
Well, that's unfortunate. I would simply end up hoping that when this is all said and done, we can simply end up going back to the Big Apple and just, I miss the skyline. I mean, don't get me wrong, small towns are quaint and all, but the real fun's always in the... She becomes nostalgic for a moment. She continues to step upstairs with Billy, and as this conversation continues them getting to the top of the stairs, we cut back to Aurelian, who is currently making his way through the checkpoints.
Well, he's made his way through the checkpoint, of course. There seems to be some kind of a problem. He's been asked to pull over just in the centre of this huge warehouse car park, which you two are currently making your way upstairs. You will actually see him at the opposite end, quite far away, speaking to one of those blue uniformed guards you saw earlier. They don't seem to be police. If anything, the only insignia they actually bear is in a sort of band on their shoulder, 9 rings, all of them interlocking, almost like that of the Olympic symbol, if you know what I'm saying. Like, 5 rings on top, 4 rings on bottom, all of them interlocking.
Can I help you? Is there a problem?
You can, if you would just give me 1 second. And he turns around for just a second. Yeah. We have another one. Very well. You can leave the car here for a moment, sir. We'll be right back to it. He starts to take you over towards another building. It's on the if you came in from sort of the side on the actual road. This one is coming in from the riverside. There's a little box of a building. Looks to be similar to that, like a booth. Maybe there's an office inside.
Close the door and hit the lock button on the key fob.
And as you begin to make your way over there, then the door opens and a small procession walks out. It's a rather short, very sort of almost military-looking woman with red hair tied back, fairly freckly, quite small, but she doesn't appear womanly at all. If anything, she, like I said, very masculine in the way she carries herself, but wearing civilian clothes. Behind her, well, there's a nun, and that's something out of the ordinary if I've ever seen one. And of course, trailing behind them is a young, rather friendly-looking chap. Well, if it's sort of, I mean, I don't know how he's dressed. I would assume business casual, smart casual. And this small procession has made its way out and has just started walking towards one of those 4 SUVs, those 4 cars that you saw just on the opposite side.
And at this point, I have to end up asking, is Aurelian using Blush of Health?
No, he does not have that merit.
No worries. I'm just making a quick... Normally I wouldn't do this, but for the sake of expediency, since this is a one-shot.
No, it's fine. Shortly after your perception roll, he will realize that's probably a good idea. But it won't happen until after your perception roll. So.
Mm-hmm. She might not know he's Kindred, but there's definitely something off about this individual. I don't know. Maybe it's just paler skin than usual. Maybe
you definitely pick up light. You definitely pick up. He's definitely paler than somebody. Is that an olive complexion? Mediterranean? Definitely paler than somebody that you've seen like that before. And there is something a bit weird, kind of chilling almost, even for you.
And this perhaps is most certainly picked up as the leader of the procession, the aforementioned red-headed woman, whom the other 2 kindred would know as Ellen North, deputy. You, of course, haven't heard this information yet. But as you make your way over, she seems already expecting you. She's already looking in your direction as soon as she exits this building. She just sort of motions for you to follow as she leads all 3 of you, as well as 2 of these guards again, into the back of one of these cars, which, upon entering, is sort of a 6-seater, two seats facing backwards, 4 seats facing forwards, and then driver compartment. So there's a fair amount of space in there, almost luxurious. Presumably you'll pile in?
Most definitely. This is just getting interesting. Being greeted and recognized right out of the gate, she's going to have to make it a point to start looking for cameras more frequently. She seems a little disappointed for a moment, but then perks right back up.
Just always the sunshine and rainbows around here.
Is there some problem, mademoiselle? He says in his light and very suave French accent.
Just to clarify, the 3 of you are all in the back with this woman, Ellen North, the red-headed lady, and you're being driven through Consequence as we speak. As the car starts up and you start to move, she looks around at the 3 of you. Well, we weren't expecting this many of you. And she immediately looks directly across over towards Aurelian. Would you mind explaining why you didn't show up on the infrared cameras?
Of course. This is quite simple. I lower my body temperature. It's something I've practiced since I was very young.
Was there any need for you to do that in the middle of winter in Ohio?
No, certainly not. And actually, he wouldn't completely. He may not completely disappear. He might have been for shits and giggles. Actually had the heater on this car a little bit. Because he's been to Winnipeg. So the surface temperature of his skin would actually show up. The core temperature would show cold. It is quite cold here. Not quite as cold as where I come from, but... Well, I'd rather not get into that. I left that hellhole in search of a place of opportunity, and this place seems that it would be a lot richer in talent.
Talents? Are you talking about silver talents?
No. No, mademoiselle. No. Let me to introduce myself. Aurelian de la Somme Talent Agency. And
She looks down at the hand just at the moment. And does not shake it. She looks back up.
No,
And
he's
shake hands.
handing a card. He's
I was
handing a
handing a
card.
card.
Yeah, with
She-
basically his fingers on the edge of the card so she can take it without contact.
She does not take the card, but does crane her neck down to just have a look at what is on the side. Well, I'm sure you'll have a hard time finding talent here.
No. I was able to find talent while I was up north. Canada, actually.
Well,
I
that's
will
nice.
find out.
Do you intend to be staying here permanently or for very long?
Well, I would like to settle. I would like to
Well, that's
get
good
some
because
business done.
that's good because the person I'm going to take you to speak to will be able to sort all of that out. I'm sure that you all have quite a few questions, but those will be answered shortly. And please, you don't need to enforce your masquerade with me. And with that curt reply, then, unless anyone else has any conversation they wish to broach.
Yeah, because Sarah just kind of smiles at him. This nun figure that you have, see, she just kind of looks to her really and tilts her head to the side a little bit, looking in. Maybe Aurelian notices there's something not quite right with her eyes at this moment. They seem to have focused in a little bit too much when she looks them over. She's just smiling. There's something very welcoming about her presence.
When he kind of looks over. Good evening, sister.
And to you, Mr. Delisle. I trust that everything's been going well for you then. I'm glad to end up here. Yeah, that you ended up making it. I was honestly expecting you not to make it for the next couple of days.
It's difficult to believe how anyone could expect me coming. I
Well,
flew on short notice down here.
if it helps explain it any better, let's just say the Big Apple says hi.
Yeah, friendly, aren't we? As Billy looks at Aurelian. Again,
Do all three of you know each other?
Sister Sarah and Billy know each other. They heard of Aurelia coming. That's it. They don't know about him, his history, or anything like that. They were just told, keep an eye out for another person dropping by. Sister Sarah is going off of the assumption.
You must have been told by the business interest at large. For such an older woman, my sire sure does continue to get around.
Wow. Well, a business to attend to, but I figured it was good graces to know who we may be running into, and unfortunately, yours was the only name that ended up popping up right out of the gate. Still,
Well,
I'm hoping you'll make this interesting, as Miss Green here has.
Aurelian puts his hand out. Aurelian de la Somme, as I told her. De la Somme Talent Agency. He holds his hand out to each one of you.
Billy takes Aurelian's hand and shakes it. It's a rather vigorous shake. It's like Billy Schultz Construction.
When you do that, do you have a pulse?
No, he's got blush of health, but that's it.
Okay. So he looks humy, but he's dead.
Yeah.
And with Sarah, does she take his hand?
Most definitely, but rather than this vigorous shake that you end up getting, when she takes your hand, she kind of shakes it once, and then kind of turns it so the back of your palm is down, and she just kind of looks over it. Her thumb actually kind of starts, like, digging in just a little bit, like she's trying to feel something out. Just for a minute. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Such a lovely texture.
Are you a student of anatomy?
Um, it helps. It helps. I, after all, end up preferring to end up helping out in hospitals, and on occasion, you pick up the occasional tidbit. I was actually, how do I put this? I try and end up making sure that the teachings of God and the world are understood well, and if people require a little bit of guidance, I end up offering it as best as I can with the tools that are provided. And on occasion, that also means that some people need healing not only of the soul, but of their body. There's certain talents that are just required for that, and I'd like to think I exercise them well, if still not a student.
Well, as a very good Catholic, I very much appreciate the work of the church. Mr. Schultz.
Yeah. It's, you said you were a talent agent, right?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
I came here from west coast of France.
Oh, really? Very nice.
I wanted to expand my business.
Billy just kind of does a. He does a little bit of French. His French isn't that good, but it's okay. But just kind of smiles. It's good. It's good to see you. Good to have everybody here. It's we're gonna have a fun time.
He speaks circles around you, to the point that you're lost.
But Billy just has kind of like a smile on his face, as if he's playing it off a little bit, even though he knows that he's
said
in that maneuver.
New York. You said you had heard of me, and that New York gives its regards. How is that possible? As I said, I came here on short notice.
Well, how do I end up putting this kindly?
Everybody's got ears out.
And it's very difficult to end up taking a plane without leaving some kind of a paper trail.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman we're traveling with mentioned something about masquerade, so... And I know that you, Mr. Schultz, are not as alive as you look.
I
So
would
let's cut to
appreciate
the
it if you
chase.
continue to enforce these laws while you're in the town, but at least while you're in the car. I know everything you know.
Of course, of course. That will not be a problem, madam.
Excellent, excellent. And here I thought things were going to get awkward.
No, of course not. Of course not.
You probably heard from my my sire, Annabelle Delachaux, also of a French line, and he goes through the line from him to her, to her sire, to her sire, sire, to her sire, 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 to her sire, 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 to her sire, 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 about 5 or 6 times back. As far as you know, it all checks out. You've all heard of these names, or you have heard of these names. They're not prestigious, but they are successful.
That is a very impressive resume.
Indeed, my
Yeah,
dear.
I have to say, you got a lot of, you got a nice gene pool.
Well,
I really hate to interrupt this discussion, but I believe we're here. And she, at that point, opens one of the doors and sort of exits the car and holds it open for you to do the same.
Sister Sarah ends up taking a step out and stretches her arms and legs, almost like she's trying to limber up. You can actually hear Despite her very lithe appearance, there's just something a little weird as each bone, each joint starts cracking. It's very audible. And once she finishes up, she just stretches out, goes back to smiling, putting her hands together. Almost.
Aurelian looks at Billy. After
Yeah.
you, sir.
Well, thank you. Billy walks in first.
Now, Miss Graves, you said?
Miss North.
North, I'm sorry, my apologies. I will be, of course, returning to my. I will be returned to my vehicle.
Your vehicle will be returned to you.
Yeah.
You'll hand your keys off now. And she just holds her hand out for them.
Do I have assurances that nothing will be missing?
That is a very, very busy warehouse, and we can't have your car blocking the way. And you're going to be very, very busy for the rest of the night. So, I'm actually doing you a favor.
Just make sure that you return them to me.
Don't worry about it. And she immediately hands the keys off to one of the other guards, who was one of the guys that drove you there, who heads back into the car, and he begins to drive off. You have all been deposited in probably the most metropolitan area of consequence. Sort of on the north side, you did cross the bridge as you came up. Another checkpoint, but at both ends of the bridge, you had to pass through something else, although there was much less hassle than there was when you all entered. The building which you're currently staring up at is the most grand thing you've seen, but even that's not saying much. Again, it's pristine. Again, it's very, very neat, but it seems to lack any form of embellishment, with the exception of this logo that you have now all come to recognise as that of 9 rings, embellished in these. You're not sure whether it's actual silver or whether it's just exceptionally shiny metal, emblazoned very, very proudly, sort of on the side of this this completely cuboid building. All of it is white, and what little moonlight there is streaming onto it. It's actually a rather impressive sight, given how everything else in the town is new. Even the road doesn't seem to be cracked. The tarmac is practically, the paint on the place is practically brand new. There are very, very few people walking around at the moment, although most of them look to be professional. The stairs are there, and Miss North, Miss Ellen North, well, she begins to ascend without really saying much, assuming that you're going to follow. These steps, I mean, the whole place seems a little bit more grand. It's like that of a corporate executive's, sort of main building. Not particularly tall. It can't be more than, 5 stories?
Okay.
And
Sure.
through the glass. If there's no other banter, no other witty banter, then Ellen's got she takes you through the all the sort of ground is glass. It leads into a very, very spacious, very, very again pristine, completely clean office. Not office. What we're talking about. The sort of the entry hall, sort of circular secretary desk. Doesn't even speak to the secretary, just nods and then begins to make her way up a flight of stairs. There are elevators, but she doesn't use them. She just starts going up the stairs immediately. There's still some people around. Most of them look to be the average office worker, as well as the occasional guard. Why there's so much security, it's a little bit odd, considering none of them appear to be police or National Guard. They're all private, at least judging by the emblem that's emblazoned on that little ribbon, that little band on each of their shoulders, as well as the blue fatigues. Almost becoming boring by now. When you reach the very top of the stairs, it opens into just a single long corridor with a set of double doors at the end. Some doors leading off as well, but those are the most prominent. They again have the 9 Rings logo emblazoned on them. She continues walking with a almost military style. She's basically marching, striding with perfect confidence, very stiffly down this corridor for some time. It's not a particularly long corridor. It seems to stretch on forever though with the lights. Until she finally knocks on the door twice, waits for an answer for just a moment before an intercom buzzes, no voice, and she enters on in, opening the door and standing her hands behind her back. Clearly she's looking at someone who she considers important. And when you file into the room, sitting behind the desk, very, very bland office. Unlike the white sort of almost marble that you've entered through, almost that of a sort of very, very very, very, sort of decontaminated science lab was what the rest of the building gave off. This is mostly populated by wood, practically the only natural thing you've seen in Consequence so far. A lot of it's just
making way from outside into the building and up. How is it that this area of the city looks beyond the shroud? How lively with activity?
I'm unfamiliar with this. Is this basically how, if everything was dead, it would be?
It's basically looking into the lens of the dead.
For the moment, not too much. Again, my understanding of this is rudimentary. Ghostly activity, if that's what you're asking about, very, very little. Although there's definitely a stain on the place. The buildings are completely gone. It's practically a wasteland, with the exception of these. The building you're walking in, it sort of dematerializes around you, turning into a very, very fine mist as your eyes attune themselves to a sight beyond sight. The rest, though, that you can see is mostly a wasteland, with the exception of these odd intermittent stains.
There are no buildings. There are no buildings, not even in a state of decay on the other side of the shroud.
Not here anyway. At least until once you actually reach sort of the very, very top of the building where you are now. Seeing through this, this building clearly didn't exist. You're only perceiving it barely, enough to walk through it. Through the shroud, some distance away, there's it looks to be a much more lively place, if very, very old. The very spitting, painting image of a western town. Lights in complete black and white through the shroud that you can see. Eerily, eerily pouring out of the remnants of a church, the remnants of a city hall, what looks to be a bar, and more stains, all of these. You see them all round on this wasteland, these sort of black veiny blotches on the ground. If you again, my understanding of this is rudimentary, so I'm a storyteller, fuck off and do what I say. You would recognise these to be you would recognise these to be maybe the residue of long murders, the residue of the dead, is how I would explain it. These sort of black veiny blotches on the earth, corpses that have long since rotted away, lives which has long since passed. Plenty of those around. You would definitely guess that there was a massacre, perhaps. A lot of people died at the same time, a long time ago. But around here, buildings don't even exist.
Occult or wits, or would a wits occult, intelligence occult, or intelligence or wits academics do any good? History,
what are you trying to find out?
Related. Well, for history or anything occult related.
What you mean? You mean pre-knowledge of the Town of Consequence? You could do intelligence. I'll do intelligence occult because I would say academics, but because you're trying to spot a specific thing, something supernatural, then of course.
Well,
so you're looking for
not really, just anything I recall of the U.S. in this part of the country.
Well, I'll call that academics then. In that case.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Difficulty?
I'll call it 6. This isn't hidden information. Okay. You would know that quite a while ago the Shawnee were present, Native Americans, but obviously when the West found silver, well, what do you do when the Indians are sitting on top of something you want to have, right? Mm-hmm. Hence why you may well see the ghost town in the distance. Hence these black splodges. Hence the fact that none of this area has been built on completely. From the history of the town that you would remember as well, again, this current town of Consequence was built, it started 25 years ago. It's been built up huge since then, but 25 years is very, very young compared to the place you see in the distance. Maybe that's why its resonance is so much more clear to you than the shadowy outline of the this building you're standing in now. It seems to fade away. You can't see much of the rest of the town. That, however, is a beacon. It's much, much more prominent in the distance.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. While looking at this, there's nothing apparent to anyone who observes me. I'm just walking along, taking in the side of the building as far as they know.
And one last thing, if you were to take a gander over towards the hill where the mines were, you would have seen the lights. The sort of the heavy-duty UV lights that would be present on that side of the place. You would notice that most of the blotches.
Okay.
Yeah, well, under the shroud side, though, most of the blotches seems to be emanating from there. It's almost as though there's black veins creeping their way out of the mines. But beyond that, back to the real fucking world, we find
Okay.
ourselves in the office of a very, very important gentleman. At least he carries himself in a very, very important way. Completely blonde hair, sort of slicked back in an old style, grey suit, white shirt, no tie, sort of very, very casual. He looks to be very, very old, but he carries himself as though he's maybe a younger man. Sitting there contemplating, hands over each other like this, sort of concealing sort of one side of his hand, and you can see on every finger and in the thumb as well, on the hand on top, there's a silver ring. Not embroidered, not engraved, nothing like that. Just plain silver. Sitting there staring up at you guys, anyway, with these very kindly brown eyes. He nods and stands up once everybody's actually in. Nods again over towards Miss North, and she apparently gets the message and closes the double doors behind us. Before he, still keeping his hands crossed just across his lap, he nods to all of you and he sits back down. There are 3 seats prepared already in front of you, like on the opposite side of the desk.
Doing a Allspecs perception check to see, like, pale skin, maybe something's not quite lining right, any indication of his kindred.
This is heightened senses, then he's breathing. He's definitely breathing, and it looks as though his blood is flowing as well. His eyes don't appear to have anything off with them, not bloodshot. Nothing along the lines that would suggest he's anything but regular mortal.
Curious. Sister Sarah simply walks up and takes a seat to the far edge, letting Billy do the talking, as this is definitely his realm of expertise.
Billy sits down in the middle, so he's face to face with this rather interesting looking man. Just still a smile on his face, as if nothing's wrong, everything's fine, everything's all good.
Presumably Aurelian's going to take a seat next to him, or is he standing up awkwardly?
No, Aurelian actually is the first person to be seated.
Ooh.
In the middle chair.
Ooh.
Oh, he's going to divide Billy in here. So, okay. All right. Sarah's not going to fight it.
Now,
Anyway.
that shroud sight does last for a scene, so keep that in mind when I'm talking to anyone or anything I see.
Okay. If anything odd does happen, you'll be the first to know, I can assure you.
Well, it's just a matter of perceiving.
Yeah, of course. Well, after you've all sat down and you've all sort of made yourselves comfortable, he'll lean back in this office chair of his. You've probably been asked this quite a few times, but business or pleasure?
I look at Billy.
Billy just kind of smiles and says, well, for all intents and purposes, we're all here for pleasure. Don't know about Mr. French talent over here, but me and the sister, we're here for our honeymoon, isn't that right? He kind of winks at her a little bit. No, of course not. No, we're all here for business. That's how it goes, right?
Yeah. You chose a strange place for a honeymoon with a nun.
Well, you know what they say, right? You know what they say about nuns and honeymoons.
No, I don't, but please, Norman Dowry, and he extends his hand across to you.
Bill takes his hand, shakes it. It's that firmness. Maybe there's something about Billy's face. Maybe it's something that kind of is more appealing to him. It doesn't seem so to Miss North. He seems to have like a really, really, really nice face. People seem to feel comfortable around him. Safe.
After he shook with you, then he comes to the next most inviting person, Sister Sarah, of course. He extends his hand.
She takes his hand,
And as soon as she grasps onto that, you immediately feel a sizzling, burning sensation just grasp onto you. It's as though you've just grabbed onto something which is just piping hot, like a complete red, scorching metal that's sort of clinging in. And if you have the space of mind through the haze of pain to actually recognise it, it's coming from the rings on his fingers. Are you actually going to? Are you actually
a-
going to? Yeah, I was going to say. If you do a stamina roll, or you can use willpower to just hold on if you want to try and show no pain.
I think it's willpower just to. She's going to just try and pretend nothing's wrong. But yeah, this is going to be tricky.
You should definitely roll willpower or self-control.
Yeah. So she ends up just lightly grazing, trying not to grasp too tight on the rings. It seems like a very ginger bit, but when she takes her hand away, she does so palm down. She wishes that she could investigate his hand structure, but at this point she's more concerned with her own, as she kind of just slightly rubs her own hand. Still not used to this existence where that might be an issue.
And of course, he extends his hand into Aurelian, who I would assume shakes it without any strange occurrences. I would hope anyway.
Very business-like handshake.
Unless you are vulnerable to
Aurelian
silver.
de la Salle. No, I'm not.
What about in the game?
No.
No, alright, fair enough. Anyway, after he has, retracted his hand finally, I'm just turning my iPad so it doesn't fall asleep. After he's retracted his hand from everybody, he sits back. As I said, Norman Dowery, I do apologise for all of the hassle that we've had to put you through. You should understand that it's necessary. Last thing we want is the place becoming crowded. I understand you have particular dietary requirements.
Requirements? What exactly?
Well, I mean, not everybody mixes the drinks you like.
Well, it's particularly quite comfortable. We can mix our own, right?
Right.
I'm honestly just worried about you spilling any all over my bar.
Well, we'll do our best to end up making sure that everything is being calm and quiet. After all, who does like a mess? Might end up staining the finery. She kind of brushes along the side, just this little bit of cloth hanging from her head.
Then you may have noticed that I've done everything I can to try and keep the riffraff out, try and keep the place very, very pristine. And I don't want any red stains all over, so I'm going to speak this very, very bluntly, and you'll have to excuse me. There will be no trouble in consequence, or there will be consequences. I've worked a very, very long time to build this place from what was just a ghost town into what it is today, a thriving community. I'm going to, because of this, provide for you. I'm going to give you accommodation. I'm going to give you somewhere where you can indulge yourselves. And I'm going to give you offers, but you're going to have to play ball my way. That means you aren't going to invite any friends. That means you aren't going to do anything I tell you not to do. And that includes going past the northernmost fence of the city into the silver mines. Those are restricted to everyone but my own personnel.
Sounds fair, but if you don't mind us asking, because as you've become quite aware of, it's a little bit of a private club we all belong to. So I'd like to end up knowing who let you in the front door. They just whispered in. Such an individual clearly must be met, and we'd like to end up having the opportunity if given one.
I'm self-employed. I figured this out by myself.
Can Billy look to see if there's any kind of would it be perception empathy?
If you want to do perception empathy, you can, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me do that. Let me do that then.
Because I'm a bastard, I'm not going to roll openly for his his roll. I'm just going to. Finally, I get to use the D10s. Alright. Any successes? Anyone?
I got 3.
1.
3. And Derek?
One.
Okay. In that case, as far as Sister Sarah is concerned, this is, slightly firm but rather genteel old man is telling the absolute truth. Although Billy will have noticed that maybe he took a little bit too long between his sentences. When he says that he's self-employed and he figured it out by himself, well, I mean, it's rather far-fetched to assume that a human could break the masquerade all on his lonesome, right? Something's off when he says it. He says you're a little bit too long, as though sort of trying to sort of smash the message in, but clearly he's trying to hide something. And that's why I know that you have a penchant for causing messes. I'm happy to have you here, especially if you can increase the prosperity of the town.
Oh,
Don't think that I'm trying to alienate anyone.
Think about it this way. Sarah. What you want to do is you want to make sure that we can sink or swim here. And particularly, you want us to make sure that there are not going to be support beams that are going to crumble under weight. Am I reading it a little clearly?
I will support you. I've already got your accommodation. It's a blues bar. Do any of you like blues music?
I've listened to a good couple of places. Fortunately, New York's got a little bit of that, too much of the hip-hop dance vibe. But there's a couple of places that still got decent music.
Well, you won't have to listen to it too much, don't worry. Not unless it is your thing, of course. We have a jazz bar as well. In fact, that's the second port of call. I'll give you the addresses for both. If you do need to slate your thirst, you can go there. We'll, as a matter of fact, I think that there are membership cards that you can collect as you leave. They expire in 4 days.
Of course. Thank you. Still, there's... How should I put this? As far as accommodations, you said that you would provide, if I understood that correctly?
Blackout curtains, boarded up doors, and my men are watching everything. Understand that you will be sharing quarters. I hope that's not a problem with any of you.
No, not at all.
Nah, I'm perfectly comfortable here. It's kind of looks like... Don't know about him, though. I mean, he might be a little sheepish, being in the all-natural.
You are absolutely adorable sometimes. I have no problem whatsoever. Flesh is something we all share.
One last thing, we are expecting more visitors. We don't know who they are, but we're definitely expecting them. I want you to know that we didn't know you were coming specifically, we just knew that you as a whole were coming. And we're expecting more, and I don't want there to be any foul play between any of you, because I myself, and he leans back at that point. You can see that even though he's got 5 fingers on one hand, he's only got 4, no thumb on his left hand, and of course no ring. And no stranger to it either.
Yeah, we'll certainly try to keep our nose clean, but I don't think you got to worry about us too much. We're all smart people.
I'm sure that jazz club, that blues club, as well as several other institutions in this town will be more than adequate for my business.
Well, 1 second. And he leans back and just he checks something on the laptop. I have other people to meet, so if it's all right, I'd leave you to it. There's a brochure, there's a leaflet. If you need to collect anything, you'll get a map. If you do need anything, feel free to ask Miss North, or if he dare shows his face, the sheriff himself.
I'll definitely take the map and the leaflet and put it into an inner breast pocket.
Billy does the same, but he'll open it up and kind of look over the place.
Sarah, while grabbing one, doesn't bother to look at it. She just kind of tucks it in, and then all of a sudden just kind of leans over Billy's shoulder. It's almost chummy when she puts one hand on his shoulder and looks over the other.
Oh yeah, here, yes, sister. It's like kind of looks at her like, look at that. Look at that. They got themselves a really nice looking. What is that? A bar, I think. Oh no, it's
Well, we can find
You want
out.
me to tell you what's on the brief brochure?
yeah, that might be.
Go for it.
The Jackson Blues Bar that he mentioned is on the north side of the city. Maybe you may have even seen it as you were coming in on the ship. It's basically a sort of mini hotel, despite being a bar. He told you that you're going to be on the second floor, and you did see a balcony as you were making your way through there. But it looks very, very similar to the rest of the place, to be perfectly honest. Mostly sort of mostly whites and blacks. It's got this. The whole place seems to be made of sort of modern art exhibition without the creativity, just sort of the bland colours. Although inside, of course, you have no idea you've never been there. The jazz club that he mentioned is in the south side, where most of the residential are. There doesn't seem to be too much of interest at the sort of the lower end of the place, the south side of the river. Although, with the exception of the club Envy, it seems to be a jazz club, and he has, I presume you know what he was talking about when he said you can go there if you ever need to say your first. Also worth mentioning, once I grab the map and turn my light on so I can actually see it, there you go. There's the remnants of that Wild West town that Aurelian would actually be familiar with, far off to the west, actually fairly close to this building. It appears to be turned into a tourist place. There's a building which was next to it, some kind of museum perhaps, known as the Res F. Hard to say. Of course, ask questions if you need to. Beyond that, there's the mines right the way up to the top, and strangely enough, it's marked on the map. Maybe it's a little odd. A Radio Shack, just sort of to the right, over, looking down on the map, that'll be to the east of the mine. So it's kind of high up in the place. Aside from that, again, mostly residential. There's surprisingly little here. Aurelian, you may well be disappointed. Perhaps you're misinformed. Of course, whether or not Club Envy has something special going on, whether or not Res F is something to check out, hard to say. You will promise me you will go up towards the mines. It's really, really important. And if you do get found out, he just holds his hand up for just a second again, exposing the severed thumb.
I'm sure that no complications will arise. We have no need to end up doing so. We're not here to threaten or to end up bolstering. We're simply here to
Do business.
look around and do business. Yes, Billy, exactly.
And, well, I would be the man to talk to for business, but like I said, I have some other clients coming up soon, so perhaps we can schedule
Out of
something
character?
tomorrow. Yep.
Out of character, his name again?
His name is Norman Dowlery. I'm going to type that in the chat for those of you who can't spell.
Okay.
Again, if you do need any more names, just ask, I'll clarify for those. Just Deputy Ellen North, that was the red-headed lady. I don't know why you kept calling her Ellen Green.
What does he look like beyond the shroud? I.e., any black stains around him, any activity around him?
Doesn't appear to be so. Wholly mortal. Wholly mortal.
So he looks, like any mortal would look, decayed in the course of time.
Yes, in fact, maybe decaying already. He's fairly old, it seems. Although he, like I said, he holds himself well. He's fairly defined, but the wrinkles are creeping in. The eyes are kind of narrowed a little bit. Hair maybe getting a little bit too thin. Perhaps it's receding a little, which would be obvious considering it's slicked back. So he's closer to death than maybe any of you would be if you were still breathing, but not to the point where he's an animated corpse.
That does lead, actually, just thinking upon action. I do need Billy to roll a perception check.
Just a straight perception?
Perception, alertness.
Alright. Oh.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, I bless you, my child.
Standard or just 2 or
Yeah, standard. 3 is definitely enough. One is enough. You do notice when she slouched over, well, you might be tempted to look at her face. So when you look at her hand, you notice the inside of her hand. There's burns. They're really, how do I put this? They're 4 burns pressed right against the inside of her palm.
As Billy makes note of that, he'll look at him a little bit, but maybe the way he shifts a little bit is so she can kind of cover up on his shoulder a little bit more in case she doesn't want people to see.
Well, thanks for letting me look over it, man. I think so many sights to see. Huh? Coming in.
It's like you're a kid in a candy store. There's so many things to look at here. It's rather nice. See, I told you us coming here wasn't gonna be too bad.
Well, honestly, I would love to stay and chat, but please, make yourself comfortable.
And she actually walks towards the door and she kind of looks at the door handle for a second. She's just suddenly become a little bit more weary. Looks to Billy and steps to the side, allowing him to open the door.
Billy gets up, but he'll pop open one of his little collars and flips out a card, puts it down for Mr. Dowry. Says, "You ever want someone to need some extra buildings or anything like that? You just give that guy a call."
He slides the card just on the table and has a look at it.
It's Billy's business card, but under it says for planning to call Rupert Grayson.
Well, I'll keep that in mind. Would you like to? I'll tell you what. Maybe I'll call you tomorrow night, maybe the night after. We can sort something out.
Yeah, this place looks pretty nice, but yeah, you want to bring people here. You got to bring a little more culture. Kind of smiles as he walks to open the door for Sarah. Of course, opening it out and putting his hand out to say, "Ladies first."
Thank you very much. And she steps outside. Ends up waiting for the rest to catch up, particularly keeping her eyes on the gentleman who they've just met, Mr. Aurelian de la Salle.
Aurelian is just behind Mr. Schultz.
And upon leaving them, then Ellen North she closes the door back around behind you, looks down, notices you've already got the leaflets, and fishes into one of her pockets, pulls out these rather gaudy red cards. They've got sort of embroidery around them, various jazz instruments, sort of a saxophone along the side, black on red. She hands those out between you. These will let you get into the Envy Club. Don't make a mess. They'll know what to expect. They'll send you downstairs.
Thank you very much.
I'll escort you out. Would you like me to drop you off anywhere? Oh, and your car is going to be outside of the bar, the Jackson's bar, that is.
Depends what time is it.
Right now, you guys sort of arrived here at 11. I'm going to call this 11:45. So you still have a fair amount of night before light. Sunrise at what? We'll call it 5. No, later than that. It's winter. We could call it 6, 7.
Okay. Usually in North America, it's sunrise is around 8. But yeah, it might be early. So yeah.
We'll call it 8 because that's easy to manage. We'll call it 8 then. At the moment, then, like I said, 11:45.
Well, being dropped off where my car is, that would be nice.
We can do that. What about you two? Are you going to go with them?
I think it's best to make sure that we end up having the rest of our belongings and bring it in, and probably move into our new suite above Jackson's, was it?
Yeah, Jackson's. She's a dick, and she carries on. She carries on walking and makes her way out of the place. Presumably, you follow. I keep asking presumably because I really don't trust you guys.
I kind of jump to just just beside her, Keys.
Well, they haven't dropped your car off. You up there with your car.
Of course.
Billy's just again that kind of like a childish kind of smile on his face. He's just looking around, looking at everything in the building. Maybe he's noticing the architecture of the building from the inside. Maybe it's something in his mind's kind of thinking. What kind of thing they use for this? They probably should have gone with a different kind of material, nicer. Maybe it's just that builder's mind that's kind of racing through, going a mile a minute inside his brain.
I mean, structures sound right, but there's little in the way of embellishment. It could do with I hesitate to say a woman's touch, but something along those lines. So it could do with fashion, a little bit more cluttered. It's too like I said, it's like a science lab. It's very, very bare bones, and you would notice that.
Yeah, there's no warmth here. There's no cold. There's nothing here that makes people want to come and stay. It's granted, that could just be because of the silver and everything. But come on, let's look at you think about all the places in California, places in New York. You have to have some kind of appeal to get people to want to stay places. That's why you get places like Tombstone and all those places down south.
Yes, there's quite a great many draw in the American Southwest. So much interesting history.
Well, there's history everywhere. It's look at a building. Again, he kind of points at the inside of the structure that they're still in. Like, this place has no history here. It's like, 25 years. I mean, that ain't long. That's like, this place is big.
Billy, give it time. Give it time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Besides, I don't know about
but he was ransacked in one.
Excuse me, we're not going to tolerate any of that.
Though I do end up wondering, should we move in and then perhaps grab ourselves something to eat?
Yeah, I think it's just
peckish.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know about you in particular, but I could certainly use something fattening if you get my drift. Yeah, I'm an American. I can't help it if I like stuff that's got stuff that adds a couple pounds. He kind of rubs his belly. It obviously doesn't have like a bit of a flub on his belly, but he just kind of rubs it as if he has like a nice bit of chub to there.
Shall we go on?
As there is grotesque amounts of belly rubbing occurring, then Ellen North is going to, she opens the door back into the same like SUV, although she doesn't accompany you back in this time. She just makes her way off perhaps to another place. As you are expertly and carefully driven, it's not quite the go boat race that was your delivery to Consequence earlier on. Much more careful, although the roads are basically empty. Until you finally pull up outside of this Jackson Blues bar. It's almost indistinguishable from the buildings next to it. Everything's square, everything's neat, everything's sharp cornered. Although it's like just all being carved perfectly. Going more for angles than it is for actual beauty. With the exception, of course, of some rather odd, gaudy neon lights. So it seems very, very out of place, as though they just sort of slapped them on at the last second outside promoting the Jackson's place. It's got some pictures as well on the outside. That's sort of a large poster just sort of on one side of the wall that depicts a much older and, to be perfectly honest, more inviting building. And such a place couldn't have existed before the dawn of the modern age. Clearly, this place has some history before it was rebuilt. Presumably, you make your way inside. I keep saying presumably because I'm worried that you're not going to do something stupid soon.
Is this North is she still with us, or has she already left?
North didn't get into the car with you unless you wanted to say something to her before she departed.
Yeah, I kind of did.
But we'll assume she's in the car with you. That just saves us some backtracking.
Yeah, it's all good. As they arrive at that destination, and everybody kind of piles out. Billy gets out, but he'll walk over to Miss North, and he'll kind of flash that smile again. Billy's going to use Dominate.
Of course again.
Yep. It's going.
This is why I say presumably. But carry on.
Oh, don't worry, but it's not going to be something too bad. It's what is it? What is it? Dominate. Dominate.
Manipulation, intimidation. I think, but I have no idea. I'm going to
Depends
find
what
out
you're
for you.
doing.
Oh no, he's trying to make her a bit more welcoming.
You
Bit
guys
more
find that
friendly.
out. I will be right back.
Would it? I don't know. I don't think it'd be intimidation.
Dominate?
If it-
No.
If it's command, it's manipulation, intimidation, and if you're trying to get her to be more at ease, you might want to use
that's mesmerism.
something like calm,
Calm.
calm, or one simple command word that will affect an emotional state.
Maybe pleasant. I think pleasant would be really good use. Yeah, trying to think on how. But it would be what manipulation or
Manipulation plus intimidation.
manipulation, intimidation with my dominate. Okay.
You're not trying to be scary. You're just exerting authority.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. She doesn't seem to be welcoming very well. I mean, that's not particularly nice. I mean, we're coming here out of good faith and everything, right? Right, sister? She
She's
said,
just going to take some time to get used to Billy. Your very eccentric personality.
"Oh, come on! Everybody loves a nice guy." Shit, where is my?
Now, if only we could find one.
Okay. Well, sorry for my.
Would leadership work as well, or probably not? Right?
Well,
No,
are you
if
trying
you're
to-
doing, it depends on what you're specifically doing. You don't necessarily need to use dominate for this.
Oh, that's true. He's trying to open her up a little bit more. She seems that she make her a little more friendly towards us. I mean, come on, if we're gonna be here a while, we may as well get
Charisma, empathy.
Charisma. There we go. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Goodness gracious. Charisma, empathy. Okay.
Probably difficulty 7, because she's not predisposed to you.
Nope. Even with friendly face, I thought friendly face.
That would reduce it by 1, yes. So call it difficulty 6.
Let's
Okay.
let's just see what I got.
Because
Nope.
Nope.
I'll
Not
give it a
about.
shot anyway. I want to hear how you
Not a
fall. on this.
badge. No. Not a badge.
You rub her raw like an abrasive pad on a toilet.
That'll come later. Carry on then.
Well, Billy again, he kind of sticks his hand out to, try to be nice. He's like, "Well, Miss North, it was a pleasant time meeting you. I hope that, I hope we can meet again sometime."
My
hope the
keys
bill-
are inside, I presume.
1 second. I want to make something clear, Mr. Schultz.
Yeah.
The only time I'll ever ask for you to stick your hand out again is if I need to handcuff it to something.
Well, I don't exactly do that on the first date, but it's perfectly fine with me.
Just keep your nose clean. Then she, at that point, very seriously gets back into the SUV, and unless anyone else is going to rap on the window or jump in front of the thing to try and stop her, then it's going to drive away, leaving you guys outside of the Jackson Blues Bar.
Billy just kind of rubs the back of his head a little bit. I don't think I got through to her, but you know what? There's plenty of time, right?
Well, to be fair, she might want you to doing the handcuffing someday. I'm sure your boy's charm will end up rubbing through eventually. Billy, it always does.
Of course, you always know exactly what to say at that particular moment in time. It's too bad that, it's too bad, you're devoted to the faith and everything. Otherwise, he starts shushing up a little bit at that particular time. He goes, well, let's go inside. Let's go inside this place and see what they can provide for us.
I'm already on my way. Given I got no response.
Well, after that's a good point. You would notice then, in that case, your car is sort of in one of the sort of bits of the parking lot, a little bit off the way. Maybe you didn't notice it straight off, but there is somebody standing outside. He's not looking over towards you. Tall African guy wearing the same sort of the blue insignia and the blue uniform of the Nine Ring Security. He's standing there. He actually looks rather sort of bashful. Maybe not bashful is the word, but he kind of looks like nervous. His teeth are kind of open in a weird grimace as he looks around. He's not smiling, he's just kind of clenching them. He doesn't notice you if you look over. Yeah. When you get a little bit closer, yeah. Is this yours?
Yes, it is.
Right. I need you to can you promise me something?
Well, this is a little unusual, but sure.
Well, just come right there a moment, and he leads you over towards the front of the car and bends down. You see that? And there's a very, very slight indentation just on the front bumper, as well as sort of on the hood as well. Sort of very slight, but clearly something impacted it and sort of locked over the front. He ran out from the road and then ran off. I didn't get him.
What did?
Well, sorry, sir. I ran over an Indian. I'll pay for the damage.
I'm going to attempt just to perception empathy. Nope.
Well, then in that case, this guy's clearly hiding something from you with a botch. He's clearly hiding something from you, and he should be punished severely.
Actually, I wouldn't know that. I failed.
Fair enough.
I think he's telling me the truth. Well, if you can see that you take care of this as soon as possible, that would be very appreciative.
Yeah, don't tell anyone.
Why is it that you look so nervous, though?
Because I really, really don't want this to go up the ladder. I got here like a week ago, and the last thing I want to do is get fired for almost murdering one of the natives. Please.
Tell me. And I'm actually going to attempt to lead whatever emotional state, basically lead him, i.e. manipulation, empathy, into this. Tell me, should this not work out, do you have any musical talents, or any talents in general?
No, I can think of. I do karaoke, and that's pretty much it.
So you're a vocalist. You do know how to sing.
I know how to sing. You shout really loudly in a microphone and hope it sounds good when you're drunk.
Well, pulls out a card. Delos Talent Agency. Should you ever find yourself in need of work, it may be a lot more work than I expect, but please do give me a call. Maybe I can find something for you.
You just offer me a job?
If you need it.
As long as you don't say anything, I probably won't have to.
Well, we'll see. And I just walk away at that point.
Yeah.
Or, no, I'm sorry. I go to the passenger seat, key fob the door open, grab a garment bag and a briefcase in one hand, one after another, close the door and then lock it shut and walk away.
He's sort of raising his hands as they're questioning it. And then, exhales rather quickly and then pulls out a mobile phone and begins dialing a number as you enter, hopefully by now as a group, into the Jackson Club. On the interior, completely different. It's as though you've walked into a completely separate building. The building advertised on the outside. It looks, they're going for the old kind of blues. Like we're talking the sort of 60s kind of blues, where it's smoky, it's close, it's kind of claustrophobic. There's a fair few people here as well. In fact, I'm going to roll dice just to see how crowded this is, because I like rolling dice. Never mind, it's not very crowded at all. People in booths, nobody actually sort of in the centre, nobody really mingling. You can't see much in the way of staff except for a single black guy, sort of long dreadlocks. Looks very Jamaican, is the easiest way to put it. Kind of thin as well. He's just sitting behind it. He looks up. He seems very excitable as you finally make your way in. Excitement that then turns into a look of genuine curiosity when he sees a nun walk in. A few other people sort of turn their gaze as well. There can't be more than maybe 10 patrons in here. These various groups. Most of them look to be well off. And some of them are smoking as well. Clearly, there's no prohibitions on the inside. And of course, there's a soft, melancholic blues.
When I go in, I kind of straighten up my posture, and the lines of his business casual suit to accentuate his overall average appearance. Basically, present himself a lot better.
Billy just kind of messes with his tie a little bit, but as soon as he does with that, he'll shove his fingers back in his pockets and kind of walks to the bartender and just kind of waits there. If he's as he's walking though, he's making note of the building itself, everywhere it's placed. Maybe there's it's the things tinkering in his mind on how structurally safe, just a bunch of different things going through his mind when it comes to the building. He's like a kid in a candy store when it comes to buildings.
And this is definitely a little bit more homely than previous. There's several antiques sort of on the wall. There's actually pictures here, pictures of very old pictures, very old pictures that Aurelian may recognise from the town he spotted in the distance. Perhaps this is something along the lines of, I was just about to say, this building actually does have some resonance. There is one sort of very prominent black stain that just sort of crawled. This is, of course, Shroud Site for Aurelian, for those of you who are wondering. Very sort of prominent black stain that has just climbed over the bar, like almost as though it's like ivy growing out of it, just sort of stuck in there, like crackling through the centre. And the building does definitely have some resonance, although it's off. It's like shifted over to one side. The real world mystifies as the old world takes hold. An old wooden building with sort of more connected to the river, it seems. Sort of slightly smaller maybe. It's as though you're standing in the past, although you're standing in the present. And a lot of these similar antiques are actually scattered around the place. You even like with a single glimpse, you catch a sort of a band, or where there is currently there's no band at the moment, where there is currently a jukebox. Just sort of the wisps of four faces, some of them sort of their hands in odd places, almost ghostly remnants of perhaps a band that was once here.
I look at the band and basically looking over where the jukebox is to them, but I look over at the band and just kind of smile and nod to the band.
Sister Sarah at this point is actually following Billy, and she stays behind him to his business, on occasion looking at the crowd, looking for anyone who may be isolated, maybe something she needs to keep
Do you
in mind
look at
later.
Aurelian at all?
There's an off chance. Let's throw it up to a chance. Six plus? No, she doesn't really notice him.
Billy can do the same thing.
To do which one?
If you're looking at him,
If she...
Oh.
like if you catch sight of him for any amount of time.
Billy's been he's been looking all over the place. He has been looking at Aurelian for a little bit, but it kind of shifts. He doesn't kind of look at something for too long.
Right at this moment, though.
Yeah, right at this moment. Yes.
You get an odd chill on the back of your neck, like hairs on the back of your neck are standing, as you see him looking over it around where the jukebox is. And there may or may not be someone there, but he nods in that direction very courteously, very genially, very friendly.
And you would see, with those very, very ghostly wisps, they continue playing with the except maybe he's just sort of leaning over the saxophone, or the saxophone, hold on a minute, this is blues music. Maybe, I'm getting the wrong clubs mixed up. Maybe he's just sort of leaning over the bass, or maybe he's actually nodding to you. It's hard to see, you can't see his eyes, it's just that misty, wispy outline with the hollow sockets. He just a very quick sort of tilt of the head. Before, the rather over-eager man at the bar, he's leaning across to the first person who actually makes a way across. He goes, "Ah, yeah, you must be one of the people that I was expecting." To look out for people who stand out. They said they'd call ahead, but they never actually did it. Can I get your names? And he sort of pulls over a...
Billy just smiles at him and says, "Billy Schultz, pleasure to meet you. I like this building here, pretty nice. Who was the designer? You know, who built this place? They had an eye for things."
He sort of like, in a very fantastic motion, sends those thick dreadlocks just out over the back of the place so he can actually see you properly. Oh no, I don't know the actual craftsman himself, but I think the whole place was commissioned. Miss Kirshine, do you know Miss Kirshine? She's the mayor.
Oh, really? The mayor designed this, or they got someone to do it?
She dabbles. That's what I heard anyway.
Oh, really nice. As Billy kind of looks over the place again and goes, "She's got a knife for things. I hope I get to meet her sometime, you know."
Yeah. Jackson existed on the old Consequence.
Oh,
this is just a remodeling. That's where we got all the knickknacks.
Ah, nice. I gotta say, again, more homely than a couple of the other places I've seen.
Yeah. The building wasn't supposed to be. It was just supposed to be a hotel. I'm kind of lucky I got my claws into the place, just friend of a friend. Who are these guys? And he just looks over towards the other two.
Well, Billy, it's best you end up making introductions.
He's like, sorry. This he points to Sarah. This lovely lady here. This is Sarah. She's my sister. And he points to Aurelian. This here is Aubrey.
Aurelian de la Soe.
Oh, that's...
And I pull a card out. De La Soe Talent Agency. I would very much like to speak with you about, any particular talents that I may find come my way. I may need a venue for them.
The venue? Oh, well, I wanted to stay...
Of course, taking the usual agency fee.
Yeah, he's taking the card. He's looking over it, but not with a very professional edge. I'll see what I can do. Honestly, I'm proud to have you. Name's Roman. I've been told to treat you very, very well, so I'm going to treat you very, very well. Can I get you anything? He says, sort of turning around to the myriad of drinks behind him.
Not at the moment. I am just looking to get settled.
Oh, that's fine. I can take you up to your rooms right now if you want. If you just follow me, and he takes a set of keys off of a rack on the wall and begins to immediately make his way just to the it would be your right as you are facing it, just to the right of the bar. A door leading up to a set of stairs up. Yeah, again, you are ascending and descending stairs. That is the entirety of this chronicle. Following this man.
Ascending stairs.
Ascending stairs are the loading screen of this game.
Whoever's Billy's gonna be, he's still kind of looking about the place. Just do a perception of witness here for him. Not too good, but is 6 enough?
What are you looking for?
Oh no, he's still kind of, he's just trying to find, maybe if there's like cracks, breaking points, that sort of thing. See how they said it was a remake of the original. He wants to see how close they got.
Well, the original appears to have disappeared as soon as you get up the stairs. It's back to that very same sort of that bland whitewash again. The only sort of resemblance is the wooden doors. They're sort of lovely crafted oak. Maybe it's a bit of a clash, honestly, to see such old meets such new. But up here, maybe the building was repurposed. It's hard to say, but it's definitely different to the interior downstairs. As Roman nature along these corridors too. Right on the end, the far right. There's only perhaps 8 in total. Sort of 4 on each side. It's hotel. Maybe it's private. It's hard to say. Unlocks the door and sort of allows you to go in, leaving the keys in the place. Hope you guys don't mind sharing, but we tried to give you the biggest we could.
Thank you very much for that, Roman. We appreciate your kindness. We'll help ourselves and end up seeing you soon enough. Just let us have a moment to get settled, talk amongst ourselves, and see how we'd like to proceed from here.
As Billy goes and he'll shake Roman's, that's his name?
Yep.
Okay, he'll shake Roman's hand and he'll pop his collar, pop his little thing again from the business card. It says, if you ever see the mayor, give him my card. Maybe we can.
I mean, give her the mayoress.
The mayoress, okay.
Yeah.
Give her a my card here. She might find it interesting.
I don't know. Blues ain't really her style. I mean, she, like I said, she got the planning permission for it, and she helped out with some of the interior, but the actual place.
Oh, of course. But it's in case she has more aspirations to kind of pretty up the place a little.
Yeah. But you just turned up, right? One thing which you might want to check out is the Res F. You see the Res F one? You got a leaflet, right? Everybody goes in the country.
Yeah. He opens it up, getting out of the collar. Yeah.
Oh, is that the old West Town?
Yeah. It's right there. Res F. That's Resurrection Foundation. It's kind of it's kind of stupid. If you ask me, I don't know. This is the only old we need to renovate. The rest of the place is rot. But it's bad voodoo, man.
What makes it so special to keep it as a point of history?
Well, the whole.
No, I don't. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Hey.
No. All I care about is the bar, but no. See, you can go there. She's normally over there. There's building remnants of the old church. You see, that was the old church in the old town of Consequence. It's kind of crumbly now, but they're trying to build the place back up, make it a little bit of a tourist hotspot. Usually, that's where people sort of jump in as soon as they get to the place, because they ain't allowed up at the mines anymore, which is a damn shame.
What is the story with the old church?
Couldn't tell you too much. It was oh, hang on, yeah, I can. It was raised by the Shawnee. Soon, look, you go over there. They got a whole museum set up over there. But why I know they torched the whole place, and that's what got most of them wiped out. There's a like a reservation for them, a while back. You can creep in the place all the time. It caused riots. Terrible. Wouldn't welcome them in here. I can tell you that much. I'm sorry if this all seems horribly racist, but you don't know what it's like living right next to him.
The more he starts to whine, the more Sarah keeps smiling.
This is charisma empathy. As Billy just kind of says, "Nah, man, don't worry about things too much. It's just relax a little. Everything's good."
Yeah. It's been good. It's been good.
Yeah. Things fine. He kind of pats him on the back a little bit. Listen. Maybe tomorrow or something we'll go look around the place a little bit more. Get our feet wet. But we're gonna definitely make sure to you let us know any interesting places.
Do we owe anything for the room?
No, I've been told to give you 4 nights free. Well, free for you, not free for me. I'm going to pay for this just as much. I mean, 9 rings is nice, right? It's got its perks moving into the town. I could talk to you for ages about Consequence. Ages and ages and ages.
Well,
whenever you got the time and the patience. Huh?
With that in mind, since this is 4 nights gratis, I would like to discuss at some point with you renting a room here until I can more solidly situate myself as far as cost price.
I mean, look inside for the moment. You see why it's floor nice, and when he points inside, you can see it's again, it's a very, very large room. Clearly, it's built to accommodate perhaps 4 people. There's 4 separate beds, as well as an ensuite. It's mostly bare bones, mostly white sheets. Just wooden beds. Nothing sort of. It's not poverty. It's just bare bones. Very, very basic. It would be luxurious if somebody actually took the time, but at the moment, it serves its purpose. See, that's 4-person room. There are 4 people rooms, as expected groups. Usually, you hang out in this place. This is like a honeymoon suite, or like, group thing. If you want me to get you something permanent, a little bit more permanent anyway, yeah, sorry man, you're going to be paying the cost of 4 people. If that's okay with you, it's okay with me, but I can show you some other places if that's what you want.
I'm sure you have something. I'm sure you have something smaller than this.
Well, there's a bedroom I sleep, but no offense, man, I ain't sharing with you.
Ari, please.
Well,
We'll end up discussing that a little bit later. We're just getting settled in. Please, don't get ahead of yourself.
Don't, what's the proper term? Don't put all your eggs in one basket just yet, Just, what they say, the slow tortoise won the race.
Of course not.
Please, Roman, thank you very much, but I'm sure you have a bar to attend to, and I'd like to end up laying back for a minute, just get my bearings, if that's all right. God bless.
Yeah, of course. I can stop you. You guys enjoy yourself, and praise be. And he makes a very awkward sort of sign of the cross around himself as he sees you, and bows maybe a little bit sort of untrained gracefully as he's forcing it as he sort of drops back, and then after those 2 quick bows of the head, he makes his way off energetically, rather vigorously, back down the hall, and you hear the click of the door shut on the base of the stairs, leaving you guys in this room.
At that point, Sarah ends up taking the time to lock the door and actually removes her headdress. You have no idea how stuffy that thing gets. And when she removes it, you end up seeing just these bags. Like she's carrying around 2 purses or carrying bags. Her clothing is actually a lot more streetwear when she removes it, as she starts on doing places. Everything's folded and placed in a very respectful manner, but she puts it down. Feels better.
Yeah, as opposed to being in that boat all those couple of days, right?
You have no idea on how hot those things get. I don't have buddy. You understand how hard that ends up getting? That stung.
So, Mr. Schultz.
Yeah, Mr. Ulrich.
I can guess that the good sister is a woman of modest means. Very good to see the dedication is still held very high regard. What is your business, though? If I may ask.
My business, personally?
Yes.
He just kind of smiles. Says, I do construction. I, kind of points at the inside of the building. I make buildings. Preferably, well, since I live in, New York, I tend to make, skyscrapers. I tend to work on skyscrapers. That's those kind of things. But there's something about this. It's rather homely. I rather like that. It's not like all those buildings we were in before. I mean, come on. There was no warmth. There was no anything about them to make me feel anything. Honestly, I was rather bored of the place, to be honest. Though that Mr. Dowry, he was certainly a cad.
When you do get some business going in this town, do tell me as I hand you a card. Contact me at that number. I may have an investment opportunity.
Certainly, he'll pass Aurelian his card. Again, it's under it. It'll say for further information or for further contact, Rupert Grayson.
And Aurelian goes over and sets up his garment bag.
This is what I get for bunking with a pair of Ventru.
Sets his briefcase on the desk and begins settling in.
Would Aurelian, I mean, he's Ventru heritage, right? Do you reckon he would have heard of another Ventru from the same place as Billy?
New York? Yeah.
1d10 for chance die. You be the judge of what I get.
Apparently you don't know Billy Squat.
Okay. No, that part of information was not passed on to me by my contact before I killed him. I mean, nothing.
In that case, nothing about the name Grayson seems obvious, and you should completely ignore any reference we make to it in the future.
Okay. Except on the card.
Of course.
So.
He's got his number then, everybody.
Yeah, she kind of leans in, and Sarah actually gets very uncomfortably close to you for a minute. He's so adorable. Can we keep him? Billy, can you tell me we can keep him?
when you get that close to Aurelian, you know that eerie feeling you felt before? All of his mannerisms, the way he moves, from a distance seems to be quite normal, quite elegant, quite upper crust. But you start to notice little unusual aspects in his movements that really just kill you.
Okay. Well, that's all good. You ever notice something with Sarah, however? The same thing. There's a little bit of a trade-off going here. I'm not sure. Is Aurelian a person of faith?
Yes, he is. As a matter of fact, you do notice there's a chain around his neck, but there's nothing exposed.
Mm-hmm. You may notice it's not strong with you, but just because you are of faith, you might be able to taste something in the back of your mouth, like bread gone wrong. Something that would be equivalent. And the thing is when you're that close, you notice that her face, while not amazing, but there is a symmetry.
Let's see if we catch reflection. Even though the screen is on, we'll see if I catch a reflection from the light in the screen of his notebook. Wow. Take note of that as I type away. It appears that he is doing some kind of search in his browser.
Well, I'm so glad you've come to end up dealing with us, alright? Though I didn't expect you to be here so soon. I was led to believe your trip would have taken longer.
No. I gave myself the rest of the night. And the following night, I chartered a private flight.
Oh, okay. That's why. That would explain
Here.
a lot.
Billy just kind of stretches out a little bit. It goes over to Sarah and says, points at her hand.
By the way, should it ever be of any interest to you, do make sure that you mind which places in Canada that you visit. And if you're still looking at what he's doing, he appears to be looking up various points of interest, apparently looking for people with, it's pretty obvious, people, musical talent and consequence, things like that, actors, various things. He appears to be looking for quite a bit of bios. Wow. Scouting.
Always on the job.
Well, not everyone has solid resources, and when you move from one place to another, you do have to set yourself back up.
Exactly.
And the way his fingers are moving across the keyboard, they're very fluid, but there's also a slight mechanical motion, almost as if there's no, like they move, his fingers move as though there's no flesh on the bone, even though there clearly is. There's a slight mechanical motion.
Yeah. She kind of turns to Billy, and then she just kind of walks up, and it just kind of one arm drapes over her shoulder. It kind of leans like as if she's using him to support. Yeah, the man can't even take a night off. Billy, do we need to show him how it's done?
Yeah, I think, you know what? Yeah, I think we should.
You can notice that there's actually a very, like I said, it's a very buddy system between these two.
So
Aurelian takes one hand and closes his briefcase, just quickly cycling with his thumb over it, cycling the combination to lock it.
I'm so sorry. Did we end up interrupting your train of thought?
No,
Derailed? No. Maybe we cramped it into a ravine? Huge explosions, fun stuff like that?
It takes a lot more to derail my train of thought. I'm a very focused individual.
Well, we got plenty of time to do that. But hey, you know what? We're all settled in. We're all comfortable. Let's go on the night on the town. Will be my treat.
Of course. Let me just round this up, and he scrolls his mouse over, shuts his small notebook down. It's not a full-size laptop. It's a little notebook.
Time to get stuffy again.
Billy just kind of pats Sarah on the back a little bit as he kind of stretches himself out again.
If only all Ventru worked the way I do.
Oh. And, are you implying that Billy's lazy? I can assure you he's not.
No, I don't think Mr. LaSalle is saying anything of the sort. But Billy's face kind of there's maybe a hint of a change when he says it's not exactly wrong, though. A couple of people tend to let people do the work for them. No, it's there's no accomplishment in that. You know, he kind of says, again, he points at this building. He kind of says, you know, there's something about it. It's like they probably, I don't know who they got to make the other buildings outside, but you could tell, right? It's obvious that it wasn't someone who had a touch the things who made this place. No, for the places outside. No, he kind of rubs on the maybe some of the furnishing in the place and kind of there's a sense of warmth there when he touches it.
Aurelian is pulling from his garment bag what looks like a winter coat, places it on, and then in one pocket of it he pulls out a pair of gloves, black patent leather. They look a little bit thicker, as though they probably have some kind of lining to them. And he checks another pocket. Good. Well, shall we be headed out for the night then?
Yes. Let's see what kind of problems we can get in consequences. I mean.
Now, Billy, don't jump the gun. Even if it is firing at semi-auto. He looks at her, and she can't help but lick her teeth. You might even notice fangs are bare. He's fighting back for a minute. She's going to enjoy this night.
And with that, as the nightlife prepares to collide with more nightlife, then we will end this first episode in a town called Consequence.